Woo! Hey everybody, Jim Sammons here with Kayak Fishing Show live. As always, brought to you by all these wonderful sponsors scrolling across the bottom. If you're new to the show, we are here every Tuesday and Thursday airing older episodes of the Kayak Fishing Show. On Tuesdays, kind of the newer stuff with Jackson Kayak. And on Thursdays, like today, there we go, back when we were with Ocean Kayak. Have a great time doing this. I actually really like these Thursday ones because they were so long ago, and I haven't seen them in forever. So it really brings back those fun memories. This one was aired in 2011. So we shot it in 2010. So obviously this is a much older episode. So, not all the stuff is always up to date, particularly the sponsors. So again, these are the current sponsors, although we appreciate all the sponsors we have had for all these years. I really appreciate everybody who joins us. I really appreciate everybody who joins in the conversation, lets us know where they're watching from. It's always cool to see the variety of places that people are watching. I mean, I had a guy watching from Brazil the other day, Portugal. I mean, it's just all over the world. So that's just super cool. Love to see those thumbs up. I see some up in the corner. I see a sad face. Mitch, why did you put up a sad face? Sad that you were late to the show the other day. Liam saying hello. Always the first one to check in, and I do appreciate that. Mitch, how are you? Wow, Steve Jurries checking in. So Steve was on this trip with us. He helped set the whole thing up, man. We have some funny stories from this trip. I mean, the fishing was amazing. This is part one of 2 episodes. So Steve, I hope you can join us for both of them. Maybe we can get you to join me on the show next week. That'd be super cool. All I can do is send you a link and you can be on this and we can share some of those stories live. But yeah, so again, this was shot in like 2010, 2011. I really don't remember. I know it aired in 2011, so it may have been shot early 2011, aired later. I like, my memory's terrible. So, but it was an amazing trip down to Silver King Lodge in Costa Rica. Most people don't think of Costa Rica as a tarpon destination, but the East Coast, man, it's got a lot of big fish, as you will see in this episode and next week's episode. But I'm glad you could join us, Steve. Maybe Joe Lynberg will also check in. That would be even cooler. Bonnie, thanks for joining us from Central California. And Pamela Worth from Tampa, thank you for joining us. I really do appreciate it. And Mitch says the sad face was a mistake. Steve, yeah, if you can do it, man, I will. Let's touch base after this, and it's really simple. All I got to do is send you a link. You just need to have a good internet connection. So I don't know where you are right now, but a good internet connection and a camera. So it would be really cool. But again, we had some really funny situations on this one, which of course are not on camera because they weren't show worthy. Or camera even running, but Silver King Lodge is a very cool place, and we had a great time there. The lady who was running Silver King Lodge, and I'm pretty sure she's no longer there, was a little bit crazy. And if I want to get Steve on next week, then I will have him share the stories about her. But it was a little bit nuts. But basically, it's Silver King Lodge is upriver, and then you run down river, go out through the surf, and then we were fishing the tarpon out actually outside the surf zone. There was an area that was just crazy, and again, I haven't watched this in years, so I don't remember what's on camera, what's not, and I don't remember the sequence of everything particularly, but when we got way offshore, this water coming out of the river is, you can see right there, it's fairly brown. It's not really clear. And when you get outside to where it started to dissipate a little bit and where the actual clean ocean water is hitting it, the water is just alive with motion. It almost sounds like it's raining because there's so much movement in the water. It was really, really cool. You did have to be aware of certain things. Saltwater crocs are a big one there, sharks. But we were primarily fishing for tarpon, mainly live bait fishing for tarpon, and slow trolling that. We did see these guys that caught an enormous Cubera snapper just outside that river as well. Like I said, just a fantastic fishery. As I recall, it started off a little bit slow for Steve and I, and if I'm remembering it correctly, and Joe got a bunch of fish on the first day. And then as it progressed, that kind of flip-flopped. And I finished the trip with one day with 11 tarpon. I mean, it was just bonkers good. It was at the point where we stopped shooting video so much so Will could get some good still photos like this one behind me. And there's some other really, really good still photos that we have from this one. We also let Will fish. And Will got his first tarpon ever on the trip. He also broke the rod. I think he was doing a little high sticking, but he broke a rod while he was on one, but he got his first ever tarpon. So if you're wondering about the Padres gear here, in honor of the Padres kicking the tar out of the Mets the last couple of games and winning the series with them. So that was a great, Padres got their butt kicked the first game. And then the next two games were payback, and they just crushed the Mets. So super fun. I'm a sports fan. I love baseball. I love football. I used to like the Chargers, but they are dead to me. Pamela says Rays. How are the Rays doing? Like I said, the Padres are doing really well, but it's hard to catch the Dodgers is the problem. The Dodgers, they have such a big payroll, but I think we're 1.5 games behind them right now. So that's pretty good. In second place and leading for the first wild card spot. So it's been so far been a very, very fun season, good season, amazing starting pitching for the most part. Hitting has been weak, but the last 2 games, they just crushed it. There were some of the guys who haven't been hitting have started to turn it around and coming on, and that's really exciting. So Jake Cronenworth had a really good last 2 games. So anyway, that's baseball. So again, if you are new to this, we are here every Tuesday and Thursday with these live shows. During the episode, I do stop it. There are built-in commercial breaks because these were TV show episodes. And I usually stop then and answer any questions or look at the comments or any of that. So I love to see the comments and the questions and all that. It just makes for a better show. I also really appreciate those of you that give it the thumbs up or share the episodes with your friends. You can watch our episodes on the Kayak Fishing Show Facebook page, on the Kayak Fishing Show group page, and on Kayak Fishing Tales, which is our YouTube channel. And I usually tell people that Kayak Fishing Tales or the group might be the better way to do it because you're more likely to get notified of when we're going live. So if you subscribe and hit for notifications, you're much more likely than on the show's Facebook page, just because Facebook is not very nice to us. So Dan, thank you, is watching on Kayak Fishing Tales, the YouTube channel from Ireland, man. That is awesome. I'd really love to go to Ireland, whether I'm fishing or not. It's just such a beautiful country. So someday I will get to Ireland. So again, this is from Silver King Lodge on the east coast of Costa Rica. Let's get this episode rolling. I hope you enjoy it. And again, please throw your questions out there and let us know where you're watching from.
This week on the Kayak Fishing Show, I'm hooking up with Steve Jurries and Joe Lynberg on the east coast of Costa Rica at Silver King Lodge. We've heard there's big tarpon in the muddy waters of the Rio Colorado, and we're going to go get them. I love Costa Rica, and after my last trip with these guys, I couldn't wait to meet up with them again and try something new. When I first started this show, we tried for weeks to catch tarpon in Florida with very little luck. The good folks at Silver King Lodge promise that the tarpon here are so easy to catch, you can just whistle them over to your boat. Yeah, I've heard that before. No matter what, the chance of even catching one of these big, beautiful fish will be a catch of a lifetime. Stick around. This one really is huge.
At the forefront of any sport, you inevitably find someone pushing the limits. While kayak fishing has been exploding in popularity, Jim Sammons has been doing just that.
Yeah, look at these. Nice.
From the seat of his ocean kayak, Jim challenges the world's top game fish and puts his kayak fishing skills to the ultimate test.
Never fought a kayak, have you, fish?
From freshwater to saltwater, Jim's mission is simple: to discover the best fishing destinations in the world and prove that anything is possible from a kayak.
That's a healthy fish. Oh, nice!
And the little one got away. Ocean Kayaks Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you in part by Ocean Kayak, makers of the Trident and Ultra series of fishing kayaks. Ex Officio, made to adventure. Seagar, always the best fishing line. Mustad hooks stay sharper longer. Hook One kayak fishing gear. Get everything you need to get out there and hook one. Scotty, the way to fish. And the Heliconia Press, cutting edge outdoors media. This week on Ocean Kayaks Kayak Fishing Show with Jim Sammons, Jim heads to the fish-filled waters of Costa Rica, this time to the Silver King Lodge on the East Coast, to try to hook the monster acrobatic tarpon. Last year, Jim hooked up with local expats Joe Lynberg and Super Steve Jurries for an incredible week chasing sailfish and roosters off the West Coast.
All right, hi everybody. I'm Steve Jurries. I live down in the southwestern part of Costa Rica on the Osa Peninsula on the shores of the Gulf of Dulce, right where they're meeting the Pacific Ocean. Really beautiful fishery down there. I fish with Joe Lynberg quite often.
My name is Joe Lynberg. I met Jim Sammons via online after creating my own website, just looking for links. I'm part of the Ocean Kayak Pro team. He was looking for ideas for a new show, and little by little, Steve Jurries and myself put together a little bit of a plan to have Jim and Will come down, check out the Osa Peninsula.
When Joe and Steve bragged about the tarpon fishing on Costa Rica's East Coast, Jim's ears perked up. Years before, on an ill-fated trip to Florida, Jim spent hours trying to catch a Silver King to no avail. So we're headed to the Silver King Lodge on the Rio Colorado River. Silver King has a rep as the best tarpon fishing destination in the world. Hundreds of 150 to 200-pound tarpon are hooked and landed by guests each year. But no one from Silver King Lodge has yet to do it from a kayak. Jim hooks up with Joe and Steve in San Jose. They're hopping on a plane, flying over the mountains to the remote Barra airstrip.
So we landed last night in San Jose and got us up early this morning, brought us over to a small private airport, and we'll take about a 35-40 minute hop over to the Caribbean side to go to Silver King Lodge. I guess we just do a quick breakfast and we get to fish right away, so pretty excited.
Oh, I am just so stoked about getting out on the water, Will. This is going to be an experience of a lifetime. Never gotten a tarpon off a kayak. It's going to be epic.
The only way to get to the remote lodge is by river or airplane. Next, they board a comfortable barge for a short trip to the hotel.
Hammocks. Putting our Scotty rod holders onto our new kayaks.
The new ocean kayaks are all rigged up and ready to fish. The hunt for the elusive Silver King begins.
They're a tough fish. You gotta really take care of what you're doing. Because most of the time they come in and they're not really that tired. They're kind of green. You might try to grab them and
Okay.
they'll
So we
splash
we
and
have
charge.
we have to take our time, and it's gonna be just like everything else, man. We got a learning experience.
Exactly.
Yes, total learning experience because we'd never caught tarpon off the kayak before at this point. I'd never caught tarpon at all. So, there is that definite learning curve. The east coast of Costa Rica is very interesting. It's very different. I mean, from the east coast to the west coast, it literally is like you're in a different country. It has that much more that Caribbean feel. It's very, very different and super cool. Really, really, like I said, we really had a great time on this trip, and although the side stories aside.
Ocean Kayaks Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you in part by Ocean Kayak, makers of the Trident and Ultra series of fishing kayaks, and the Torque, which features a removable Minn Kota motor. Check them out at oceankayak.com.
JacksonKayak.com.
Day one at the Silver King Lodge on the east coast of Costa Rica. Jim, Joe Lynberg, and Super Steve Jurries have arrived in time for breakfast, a quick setup of the kayaks, and are now ready to hit the river. They need to learn the local gear, how to hook and fight the tarpon safely from kayaks, and most importantly, how to release them alive and kicking.
Tarpon are that deep?
Well, they're not go that deep. It's just so many currents, so you need to go down fast.
Oh, I see.
Silver King hooks them up with local guides on a clean, well-run panga to take them up to the river's mouth. The river has recently flooded, and the mouth is a rolling beast of whitewater. It's also early in the trip and best to avoid the local wildlife.
Yeah. Oh, this guy's moving out into the water. Oh, we're just rigging up. They've got some fresh dead bait, and get a 10-aught mustad circle hook, and just soak the dead bait. We're just right outside the surf zone here, off the river. The lodge is right up the river there. So just get outside the surf, and supposedly this is where the fish are. We just moved a little bit out off the beach to try a different spot. Inside, we've seen fish, but we haven't gotten any to feed, and haven't seen anybody catch any fish.
Rain, rough conditions, and muddy water lead to an unsuccessful first day. Time to head into the Silver King Lodge for a homemade meal, hot shower, and a good night's sleep. The Silver King Lodge is known worldwide by sport fishing gurus as the best place in the world for tarpon fishing. Experienced local guides are quick to share their knowledge of local hotspots and sure to get you on monster fish soon after your arrival. With the fishing grounds only minutes away from the hotel, incredible service, top-notch accommodations, and dining, nothing could be better for the avid angler.
Everybody's wonderful. The captains are all very well spoken, very knowledgeable. It's just been so nice. Amazing place.
There's that big Cubera.
Great tourist experience for anybody.
We have a service like massages, the bar open for you want to there.
And
The swimming pool, the
very nice
jacuzzi.
swimming pool. That's an awesome. We spent a
Yes.
lot of time in that pool in the afternoon.
Rigged up with 3 brand new Ocean Kayak Trident kayaks, Silver King Lodge is soon to be on the top of the list for tarpon-addicted kayak anglers.
Get a full day of fishing here because you get to fish from basically 6 o'clock in the morning until 11.
Mhm.
Come in for lunch and siesta and pool, and then head back out at 1:30, and you fish from 1:30 till 5. So you have the best part. You have the morning fishery, you have the evening fishery,
Right.
and you just get a lot of time out on the water. And there's so many fish out there.
Silver King Lodge. Look them up.
Day 2 begins with a bang. As the sun rises, the guys jump out of their beds, stuff a hot breakfast down their throats, and head to the boats. It's time to fish.
Okay, fed him.
Right here, yeah.
They're tricky to hook. They've got a strange mouth, and the hookups are tricky. You need something really sharp, like a nice Mustad Ultra Point. Really, really sharp circle.
There ain't no back road on this old town.
There it is.
I ain't seen sunset on. There ain't no famous fools in this old house. I ain't been no when I get stoned. Not seen that city like you are pretty. I seen the man
Where are you, baby?
threw me in
That's
jail.
your leader. You got to be right below
He
me.
just said, Mister, down.
Very strong. Stay down and pull. At times they would feel, the ones that don't jump even feel like tuna. Shallow water, pulling weight, pulling heavy weight. No, not much ticking. There's a little bit of movement, but not quite like a Jack Crevalle. At the point at which they do get tired, they'll come up just a little bit on the belly, and that's the time at which you're able to reach your hand in and just grab them by the lower jaw. The lower jaw is almost like a perfect handle.
I lost my paddle.
To have a gloved hand and just pull it right up on your lap very easily. Get these nice Mustad circle hooks popped right out.
Well, we didn't get the release on that because he slipped out of my hand, swam away nice and healthy. This week we're in Costa Rica and we're targeting big tarpon. The setup I like to use for that is a Cedros 10S. It's a lever drag. So when I'm pulling a live bait or a dead bait or whatever, I've got that nice big lever drag, nice strong reel. I've got it attached to a Kuma Andros rod. This has got a lot of pulling power. These fish are jumping a lot. I need to be able to pull on these fish. Also, I'm jumping in a small plane to get where I'm going. It's a 2-piece, very easy to travel with. I've got my reel loaded up with Seagar Kansan 80-pound braid. Attached to my braid, I'm going with about 15, 20 feet of 100-pound Seagar fluorocarbon. I need the abrasion resistance against their gill plates, not to mention these are big fish. The hook I like to use when I'm going after these big fish are the Mustad Demon Perfect Circle 1X Strong, and I'm going with a 10-aught hook. 90% of the fish we had the hook just on the outside of the mouth, either in the front or in the corner. Great hook. That's the setup I like to use when I'm down in Costa Rica targeting tarpon. Check it out.
For more tips and your chance to win a
So on that note, the reason I like the 1X Strong, if anybody's wondering, you just can't pull that hard in a kayak. So having a little bit smaller wire, it's much easier to get good hook penetration than if you have the really heavy, super heavy wire hook. So that's generally my feeling on that. This next thing that's rolling here is a contest that we were running at the time, which of course is not happening now. So Charles, how are you, man? Thanks for joining us. Pamela Ward says the tarpon bite in Tampa Bay is crazy good right now. That's awesome. I wish I could fish. Hopefully shoulders getting better, little by little, shoulders getting better. Thanks to the great therapy I'm getting finally. Cheryl Jurries says, awesome, Steve, or super Steve. And also says she can't wait to get down there. Very cool. Dan had a question. How do you know to bring the whole Scotty rod holders for the kayaks with you? Well, we shipped the kayaks down there. So we know what kayaks were down there. We knew what was on them and what wasn't. So rather than flush mount rod holders, I always prefer having a rocket launcher style of rod holder to get the reel up away from the water. As a saltwater angler, that salt is so tough on your gear. So I always prefer the rocket launcher style. So that's why we sent those down there. And again, we knew what was on the boats. Things have changed a lot, obviously, from back then. So many of the fishing boats we have are just completely rigged, ready to go. You don't need to add anything. They've got all the gear track and come with rod holders and everything else. So it's a little bit different now than it was back then. Again, this was shot, I think, in 2010, if not 2011. But yeah, so it was always back then. It was such an adventure to get our kayaks to where we wanted them, and it was one of the hardest things. I mean, we didn't go to some destinations because getting the kayaks there was so prohibitive. We did a trip to Africa, to Uganda, to fish the Nile, and we literally shipped the kayaks 6 months in advance, and they got there like a day before we did. And then we still had to wait around to get them out of custom and pay ridiculous amounts of bribes to get them out of customs. So that was always quite the mission in many cases. The SMT, thanks for joining us from Oregon. I wish those long kayaks were still made. Yeah, me too. That's definitely more my style. I was talking to somebody about it this morning, and we were talking about paddling and about, back in the day with the old Scupper Pro, which was 14 feet 9 inches long and weighed about 50 pounds. And it was kind of a joke because so many of the guys that I knew were paddlers in touring boats. And so they're like in glass or Kevlar, and they're like, oh, the Scupper Pro is a great boat. I just wish it was lighter. And man, the kayaks have done nothing but gotten heavier since then. I think the new NAR with the pedal drive and the seats and all that is 140 pounds. So it's definitely a different animal nowadays. And there's nothing wrong with it. But, I'm trailering kayaks now instead of throwing them up on top of a vehicle. That's for sure. Mary says, can't go wrong with Super Steve. Yeah, it's so much fun. We had such a great time with Steve, and it's been, I did a couple of trips with him, and always just such a good time. So hopefully maybe someday I'll get to shoot with him again. So again, this little promotion here is obviously a promotion from 10 years ago. So don't try to win a free kayak from me. I'm not giving you one.
Fantastic kayak fishing package that includes an Ocean Kayak Trident fishing kayak and ex officio clothing. Visit kayakfishingshow.com. It's the end of the second day. Joe and Jim have hooked their first tarpon. Steve has yet to feel a tug at the bait, but refuses to show his frustration. When we come back, Joe and Jim light it up as Battle Tarpon continues.
Or roll. Oh.
Ocean Kayaks Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you in part by Scotty, Standard Horizon, Maui Jim, and Hook One Kayak Fishing Gear.
I don't think Hook One Kayak Fishing Gear exists anymore, as far as I know. Scotty still makes great stuff, though not a sponsor of my show any longer. We use Yak Attack. Still using Maui Jim. Standard Horizon was one of my very first sponsors and still is.
Ocean Kayaks Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you in part by Ex Officio and their new Soul Cool collection of shirts made with ice fill technology, which actually dissipates heat and provides a cooling effect. Check them out at exofficio.com. This week,
Ex Officio was a great sponsor, but they actually backed away from the fishing side of things and just started making outdoor clothing. So luckily now I'm sponsored by NRS, who makes a great paddling clothing and PFDs and all that stuff. But Ex Officio was an awesome sponsor for a long time, and good people. Just new CEO came in and said, we're not going to focus on fishing anymore. So that was kind of why they went away.
Jim is battling massive tarpon on the east coast of Costa Rica at Silver King Lodge. So far, Jim has managed to hook, fight, and land his first Silver King.
There we go. That is an attitude adjustment. That's how you turn a frown upside down.
Joe Lynberg has pushed it to the limit, seeming to catch another beast every time we turn around.
He's just trying to put a little more pressure on this fish. Always nice to tire him out a little faster, making him tow the weight of both of us and both kayaks, mine sideways against the current. So making the fish work a little harder.
That's the same technique we use on billfish.
You know, the fish came by, picked Steve right off. It wasn't 10 seconds to pick me up. And it's a quick fish, nice release. It was something a little bit different for us, but he did a good kick and swam off. And it's amazing.
That was an awesome release, too, huh? Woo, big fish, man.
It's the end of day 2, and Super Steve Jurries is having trouble.
You know, Joe's a great guy. He's one of my best friends, but he's really pissing me off right now. No, he's having the time of his life, and I'm stoked for him. That's awesome.
Right on.
Like clockwork, Joe is hooked up.
Yeah, like I said, Joe crushed us the first day, or the first full day. He was catching fish left and right, and Steve and I were struggling that first day. But I mean, these are good-sized tarpon. Look at that beautiful fish.
Cut him off right here. Roll him over, get him up on the right position so he can swim away. You know, we could have taken him to the next step, pulled him on our laps, but he was getting really tired. We wanted to get him off and swimming before, as quick as possible. Big fish that like to jump right next to your kayak will really get your blood boiling. And next to marlin, I can't think of a more exciting fish to catch off my kayak than a tarpon. So that's what we're going to look at in this week's kayak fishing tip. Tarpon can get big. They jump, they pull hard, and they're going to have you moving across the water. You don't need big gear to land them, but you better make sure you have good gear. Reels with very smooth drags and rods that are up for the battle. Tarpon will readily take live bait, dead bait, and a properly presented lure. So you should try to have all these things in your arsenal to see what's going to work best on that particular day. Tarpon aren't like a marlin. They're not trolling for these things at high speed. The tarpon seem to like a nice, slow presentation. So if you're trolling off your kayak, make it slow. If you're throwing lures, again, nice and slow presentation, or even a stop and go or walk the dog action works really well. Tarpon have a very large mouth. You need a good quality, larger hook. On our last trip, we were using 10-aught Mustad perfect circle hooks, and we had perfect hook placement on 99% of the fish. If you're going to be throwing lures at this fish, I highly recommend that you replace the trebles that it came with a nice, high-quality Mustad J hook. Tarpon don't have a whole lot of teeth you need to worry about, but I tell you what, their gill plates are very sharp, and they'll go through heavy line quite easily. So make sure you're using at least a 100-pound fluorocarbon leader. Just like any big game fish, it's very important that you do not bring a green fish up to your kayak. I found that out firsthand when one jumped and landed on the deck of my boat. Now, when the end game comes and it's time to get the landing, maybe you want to get that shot of the fish right next to you, just do it quickly. Sometimes it may be best not even to bring the fish up. You can lift its head out, have your buddy take a picture, but you're going to do less damage by leaving them in the water than bringing them up on the boat. So I hope now you're going to have a chance to go out there and hook some big tarpon from your kayak.
And I tell you, they
Until
are
next time, I'm
slimy
Jim Sammons, and
buggers.
that's your kayak fishing tip of the week.
The Kayak Fishing Tip of the Week was brought to you by Ocean Kayak. Check out their complete line of kayaks at oceankayak.com. Stay tuned. There's plenty more tarpon fishing action ahead as the Kayak Fishing Show hits the East Cape of Costa Rica.
Joe's had an awesome fight on a big tarpon. Come back after this commercial break for more kayak fishing in Costa Rica. Let's see how Joe does.
Saw there was another question here, I thought. Dan's got a couple of things here. Kayak fishing is taking off in Ireland. He fishes from a bluefin kingfisher. It's basically entry level and first, and he fishes with his son Darren, which is super cool. My kids both caught their very first fish off of a kayak when they were very young. Of course, they're not very young anymore, adults. And also, it said he'd like a pair of lightning kayaks and wants to know if anyone here fishes from a lightning kayak. I have seen lightning kayak. I know nothing about them. There's none of them here where I am in San Diego. So I've never seen one firsthand. And honestly, I don't know anybody who fishes from one. So I'm sorry to say, Dan, I can't help you on that one. Again, I work with Jackson Kayak, who has the full range from entry-level paddling boats. They used to have my signature Kraken paddling boat. And of course, now so many of the pedal boats and the new NAR. I tell you what, though, as far as the pedal boats go, I've been talking to a lot of people lately about the new drive that Jackson Kayak came out with. And everything I've heard has been so positive. It's really exciting because Jackson kind of got a black eye with their pedal drive when it first came out, and they kept improving it and kept improving it. And the last iteration of it was pretty good, but they still weren't happy, and they went back to the drawing board and redesigned their pedal drive. It's now the Mark IV, and again, everybody I've talked to about that new pedal drive has been super excited about it. It's much faster than the old one. I understand it's faster than the Hobies. Again, I have no personal experience. I haven't been on one yet, but the feedback that I have heard, and again, I'm not going to say anything more than it's what I've heard. I haven't been on one yet, but I will once I get to ICAST or if my boat shows up here. But that new drive is supposed to be really nice. So I'll give you a better report when I'm at ICAST, and hopefully I can do some live stuff there. But yeah, Dan, I'm sorry, not lightning kayaks. There's just not a lot of them out there, quite honestly. At least not in my region. And Mitch, you low E your M4. Yes, Mitch actually had a video up of his Mach 4 on a blue sky, and racing one versus the other, the old one versus the new one. And it was noticeably faster. I was talking to some guys who were at a bass fishing tournament recently, and as a shotgun start, and supposedly the guys in the Mark IV on the NARS with the Mark IV, they got off the line and just left the Hobies behind. Again, this is just what I heard. I wasn't there. I can't say to it one way or the other personally, but that is what I heard, is that it was much faster. And I know that it's much smoother than the old one. So let's keep this thing going, and please bring on the questions. I love it. I love the questions. I love to, whether it's in line with the actual show, if it's just a general kayak fishing question like these, always happy to answer your questions. There we go.
Ocean Kayaks Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you in part by Okuma Fishing Tackle. It's your day. Make the most of it with Okuma Fishing Tackle. Inspiring design meets stunning performance. Check out Okuma's full line of rods, reels, and fishing accessories at okumafishing.com.
Welcome back to the Kayak Fishing Show. We're still in Costa Rica at the Silver King Lodge, and Joe is still on this fish. It's been over 45 minutes. It's another good quality Silver King.
It's day 3 of an epic tarpon fishing adventure. So far, Jim and Joe have proven that kayaks can hold their own against the local monster sport fish. After a relaxing dip in the pool, lunch, and a siesta, the guys hit the water for another afternoon.
I got blown up on the swimmer, and then my bait got hit. And I had the comedy double hook up there for a second. Couldn't wind on either one of them, just kept pressure on them. The nice jack off.
That's a good sized jack.
Good strong fish. That was pretty entertaining.
My favorite piece of equipment that I've found on this trip so far. I like the Scotty rocket launcher tube. To reach back around behind you, I like this fish right in front of me. I like to be able to see that jump. It's nice to do the back drift and keep all your focus on right in front of you. And my favorite part of it's the jump, and I wouldn't want to miss that. Looking over your shoulder is nice, but it's not like it's here right in front of you.
A big old barracuda. That was fun. Not at all what I was expecting. Actually, when I saw it first just under the surface, I thought it was a wahoo. But it turned out to be a big fun fighting barracuda. So I'm stoked. We got the skunk off, and it was an awful good time. She was not back in the living room day.
Those greater barracuda are just amazing fish. They can get so
The
freaking
sun is
big.
setting as the third day comes to a close, but Joe can't resist just one more fish.
45 horsepower. She was 95.
Yeah, Joe. How big is this one?
40, 50.
A couple of years ago, I had the chance to try out the new Ocean Kayak Ultra 4.7. And now that boat has been brought from New Zealand to the United States, and I've been using it all year. Based on the Trident 15 and crafted around the original Prowler hull, the 4.7 incorporates more volume for a much drier ride and incredible paddle ability. One of the key features is the easy to rotate center hatch. You got to check this out. You mount your fish finder on it, you flip it over, and protect it when you're launching through the surf or rough conditions. You can see all of Ocean Kayak's recreational and fishing kayaks at oceankayak.com. This has been one incredible day. We have pulled on a lot of really big fish. Every fight, over an hour. We got our butts handed to us, and we get to do it again tomorrow. So you know what? I'm beat. I'm gonna go to sleep. We'll see you tomorrow. Now leave me alone.
Tune in next week as Jim Sammons, Joe Lynberg, and Super Steve Jurries hit the water for 3 more days of incredible fishing. The question is, will Steve finally shake off the skunk and boat himself a beast?
Well, I guess I'll keep chasing my tail.
Well, like I said, Joe started off with such a big lead on us. I mean, he just crushed it the first couple of days, and it seemed like he was constantly hooked up. It did flip. I'll give that tease right now. At least it did flip for me. I ended up catching quite a few fish, and it was just amazing. Like I said, we got a lot of still photos because we had caught so many fish and had so many fish on video that Will could start, is really focusing, because I only got one camera guy. I don't have a whole crew. It's me and Will. And so he was able to get some really good still shots, some amazing stuff with fish in the air. And again, we even allowed him to get some time with the rod in his hand, and he ended up getting his first tarpon. So absolutely amazing. And again, part 2 will be next Thursday. Dan asks if Jackson kayaks are available in Europe. The Lightning ones are not. Hobies are, but are expensive. Yeah, the whole problem is the import fees, the tariffs. So trying to get anything over to Europe. Jackson used to be in Europe. I mean, we have a whole Jackson Kayak Europe team. My understanding is they're actually going to start manufacturing Jacksons over there to kind of get around those tariffs. So yeah, definitely look for those. I know it's tough. But the new NAR, which again is the boat we've been talking about a lot, it's up there price wise with the Hobies for sure. It's a little bit less, I understand, but it is a high price point boat because of the pedal drive and all the features on it and everything that goes along with that. Chris is one of those guys using a Carlisle day tripper. Yes, sir. I, of course, was paddling with Werner, but we were sponsored by Ocean Kayak, Johnson Outdoors, which owned Carlisle as well. And that was a paddle they sent down there. And so, yeah, not what I want to paddle with. When you get spoiled by carbon fiber and a foam core blade, you don't want to be paddling a day tripper. And of course, this was a 2-piece paddle. So I used to have to strap my paddle to the side of my rod tube. But thankfully, Werner started making 4-piece paddles, which made it so much easier to travel with. So that was a big deal. That looks like all the questions, unless anybody's got any more. Again, the sponsors below are the ones who support us. These old episodes will show other sponsors, but again, we work with these ones. And if you can help support them, I appreciate it. I do appreciate you all that join us every week. We're here again every Tuesday and Thursday. I love to see the comments. I love to see where you're watching from. I love to see if you're watching it on a replay. I know that most of our views come on replays, not actually watching it live. So you can still comment on the replay, and I will, if you have a question, I will come back and answer those questions. So always feel free to shoot me questions. I'm always happy to answer questions. I enjoy talking about kayak fishing, particularly right now when I can't personally kayak fish. But hopefully that changes soon. Laura, yeah. Like I said, you get used to a carbon fiber paddle. I tell people all the time, it's like somebody asked earlier about, how did we know what rod holders and stuff to bring on the boats? I always tell people, if you're going to a destination and they have kayaks, I used to tell people, because the seats were different, I'd say, bring your own seat, because you never know what kind of seat they're going to have. This is when you had the strap-in seats. And always, if you're used to using a good paddle, bring your own paddle. It's going to make a huge difference. And bring your own PFD, because it's the one you like. It's one you're going to wear, and it is comfortable. It makes a huge difference. I pack a lot of gear with me when I go on a trip, but it's always worthwhile to make it, particularly if you're going to be doing stuff like this, where we were literally just trolling all day, or like when I go for marlin and billfish, where you're offshore and you're just paddling so much. It's so nice to have your own paddle. Dave Fowler says, watching from Ottawa, Ontario, packing up for a weekend of lake trout fishing and camping. Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. I said, I'm still a ways out from being able to fish myself, and certainly not paddle. I'm a paddler, but I'm kind of looking forward to jumping on my Blue Sky with my Torpedo on it, because at least I can do that with this bum shoulder. But at this point, I'm not even allowed to fish. So a little ways out, but we're getting there. We're getting there, and I'm excited. So again, I appreciate you all for what happened just now. Wow, my computer just flashed off for a second. That was weird. I do appreciate you all joining us. I do appreciate all of you that share these with your friends. That really means a lot to me. If you are going out on the water this weekend, please remember, always wear your PFD and keep your paddle right side up. We'll see you next Tuesday.